I'm going to have these posted hopefully on YouTube with a link that will get you to each session if for some reason you're unable to make it. What we're going to do starting today, today's May 5th, the way these sessions are going to look is we're going to spend 2 days, hopefully, starting tomorrow on each unit of AP Statistics. And I don't know if you've seen the breakdown before, but in AP Statistics, and I'll give you guys the breakdown here in just a second, the AP Statistics course has changed a bit from what it was in previous years, and it actually changed into new units just this year with the introduction of AP Classroom. When we added in AP Classroom online, we also added in a new core, like a new framework of the course. Not that anything necessarily was different, but just that we had 9 units. So I want to show you real quick. I'm going to share some things with you today, and hopefully it will help you as we go through, and I'm going to share some things with you over the next couple weeks that will get us through all the units. So first of all, what I want you to see, I'm sharing my screen with you now, is these are the units for AP Statistics. So we start with Unit 1 and go all the way through Unit 9, which is linear regression, kind of t-test and things like that. Now, what is going to be on the AP exam this year due to the coronavirus and different things that were going on with people being out of school, the AP exam is going to cover Units 1 through 7 is what College Board decided. So Units 8 and Units 9 are not going to be on the AP exam. And if you look at them anyway, even if they would have been, if it would have been a normal year on the AP exam, you would have seen those in a very small format. So you wouldn't have seen much of that anyway, because it's only counted as 2 to 5% of the course. But what you are going to see on the AP exam is the first 7 units that we talk about. That is exploring 1 variable data, exploring 2 variable data, the collecting data, the experiment part, probability, sampling distributions, and then the all-important inference, the confidence intervals and significance tests for proportions, and the confidence intervals and significance tests for means. Those are, if you look at those 2 right there, if you add those together, that's between 22 and 33% of the course. So that's a large section of the course there. If you notice, probability is a large section, and then luckily even Unit 1, which we hope will be the easiest, is a large section of the course as well. So what we're trying to figure out is how they will pack these 7 units into what's going to be 2 questions this year. So if you haven't heard already, the AP exam will be 2 questions. What will happen is you'll be able to take this at home or wherever you're the most comfortable. And the first question will be a 25-minute question. And then you will get a 5-minute break or time to upload your response or copy and paste your response, as we'll talk about later. And then the second question would be a 15-minute question. And then you would get 5 minutes to either copy and paste or upload your response on that as well. So you're looking at 2 questions. However, what you're looking at on these free response questions are multiple parts, A, B, C, D, E. So they're going to try to put anywhere between 9 and 11 parts into those 2 questions. So if you think, you're going to be tested on 10 different things, let's think, then they could get at least 1 from every unit into those 2 questions. So that's kind of what you're looking at. Again, getting about half of it right exceptionally well is going to give you a 3, which is going to count as course credit for any of the UNC schools, and for most schools it would count. So you need to look at your school and kind of see what you would need to make. Anything more than that is going to get you higher than a 3 on this exam. But that's what we're looking at as we go through this review course. is we're looking at units 1 through 7 because that's what's going to be on the exam, and that's kind of how it's going to flow. Now, the other thing I want to show you is there is a website, and I'm going to post it in the chat. So the website in the chat that I'm going to post, the first website that I'm going to post that is important for you to know is collegeboard.org/AP2020. So it's just cb.org/AP2020. And if you ever go to that website, what it's going to do is it's going to take you to this page with the coronavirus updates, okay? And it explains to you how to be prepared and be ready for exam day. So it shows you how to make sure your computer's working. It shows you how to practice with the demo and look at what it's actually going to look like on your screen on exam day. And then it just gives you some information about the schedule, taking the exams, and some online review sessions, partly that we're doing, and then some other things you can find online that AP has put together as well. If you'll keep that website and kind of use that, I think it's going to help you. If you have any other AP courses, then obviously that will work for you as well. What we're going to use specifically over the course of the next 3 weeks, or, well, 17 days until the AP Stats exam, is Stats Medic. So it is the Stats Medic review course. If you haven't already gotten the invite for that, and I think most of you have, but I am copying and pasting the invite to this course in the chat. If you know anyone else that needs the invite and needs to join the course, this course is open. It has 60 spots actually in it, and I think 28 are filled right now. So if you do know someone in AP Stats or that's in your class that needs to be added to the course, you can invite them with that link. That link works for anybody to send, and they can join the course. But if you look at the Stats Medic course, the goal of this course is I can kind of see what you're doing, and you can actually be learning at the same time. So they have a brief introduction. They have a diagnostic test that we're going to talk about today. Then it goes through the units. So Unit 1 is 1 variable data. That matches up with the AP exam. Unit 2 is 2 variable data. Unit 3, sampling and experiments. Unit 4 is probability. Unit 5 is sampling distributions. Unit 6 is where they differ from the AP. Unit 6 for AP is just proportions. In their Unit 6, they decided to do all of confidence intervals, which is fine, so proportions and means together. And then in Unit 7, they do all of significance tests. And then at that point, you're ready for the AP exam, and it's time for us to take the exam. So if we spend about 2 days on each of these topics, then we will have made our way all the way through the Stats Medic review course together, and we'll be able to have completed all the necessary requirements. So, but one thing that I wanted to do with you guys today, if you have a blank sheet of paper and you can follow along and kind of maybe even answer some of this in the chat, I wanted to take, so AP, before we go into the introduction and the diagnostic test that we'll talk about towards the end of this meeting, AP has released, the AP Statistics team, the team that worked on creating these 2-question exams, has released their information on the, they have released their information on what a question would look like. So we actually have, for the first time, an actual sample question of what the 2020 exam may look like. So I would like to go through that together with you and us just kind of see how a problem's going to look and how we're going to be able to get credit on it. Okay? So if you'll, I'm still sharing my screen with you. If you will turn to, so I am on this page. Again, I'm going to share this link with you. If you want to find it and keep it for yourself, here is where that sample question is. It is the AP Central AP 2020 exam sample questions statistics.pdf. So here's the 2020 exam sample question, and I want some of you to kind of talk in the chat with me and go through this a little bit. So it says, note, this is an example of a 2020 AP exam sample question number 2. So a question number 1 is a longer question that is 25 minutes, that you're expected to spend 25 minutes on and then give 5 minutes to submit. Sample questions number 2 are the 15-minute questions. So this is an example of a 15-minute question. And then after you have the 15 minutes to work on it, they would give you 5 minutes to submit your answer, either by copy and pasting it, if you're like working in Google Docs, or by uploading it, if you're working by writing the answer, or by in either direction. And we'll talk about the different ways of uploading it later. But let's read through the question, and I'm going to, I'll zoom in on this some for you as well, since you're looking at my screen, and let's see what we can do on here. So, question number 2, students at an agricultural station conducted a study to compare genetically modified corn with regular corn. Each of 33 plots of land was divided into 2 half plots. One half plot was randomly selected to be planted with the genetically modified corn. The other half plot was planted with the regular corn. The table shows summary statistics for the yields in bushels per acre and the difference in yield. And the difference would be genetically modified minus regular. So, explain why the yields from one type of corn are not independent of the yields from the other type of corn. So can somebody, either in the chat or you can unmute yourself if you would like to, can you tell me what it means for these, what would it mean for these to be independent? What would it mean for them to be independent of each other? You got to think back to probability almost.
Where one thing does not affect the other.
So yeah, so we're looking at where one doesn't affect the other. So that is the goal of independence. So why in this question on A, why are the yields from one type of corn not independent from the other? Does anybody have an idea there? Yes, Gavin, that is correct. So you have, because they're on the same plots of land. So can everybody see 33 plots of land was divided into half plots. So basically, this grown on the same plot of land, whether it's the genetically modified or whether it's the regular. So because it's being grown on the same type of, on the same plot of land, we can assume that it's getting the same amount of sunlight, it's getting the same amount of soil, it's getting the same everything, right? So that makes them not independent of each other. So that is part A. Okay, let's go to part B. Based on the summary statistics, would it be more likely to obtain a yield of 123 or more from a plot of genetically modified corn or a plot of regular corn? So which one is more likely to give you 123 or more? Okay, and we say genetically modified. Victor's right. So he says genetically modified. Why, though, based on these summary statistics here, what shows us that genetically modified would actually give us we would be more likely to get it from the genetically modified corn? What part of the summary statistics can we use to justify our answer? There's two options. It does have a higher mean, but remember the mean can be affected by outliers. So we don't necessarily want to use that because the mean will get pulled. This is a key right here, the median. So if you look at the genetically modified corn, The median is 127.5. That means 50% of the plots have more than 127.5 bushels, right? In the regular corn, the median is only 119.4, right? So we still haven't gotten to that 123. That 123 is somewhere in between the median and Q3, right? Whereas here, that 123 is actually before we get to the median. So there's more than half of them. We know that more than half of the genetically modified plots have the 123 or more bushels. Does anybody have a question on that for B? So the key would be to look at the median and see how this one's already past 123. And so we know that more than half of them have 123, whereas this one, if you look at the median, it hasn't got to 123 yet. So it'd be less than half of the plots of the regular have 123. You might have a question there. If you do, I'll take it now. If not, I'll scroll forward. So that's A and B. The key in A and B is explaining. Look at, and you're going to see this all throughout, right? The exam. You see the word explain. You see the word justify your answer. And you see based on the summary statistics. So it's not based on your opinion. It's based on something in this table right here. How would I write that? Basically just how I said it. I would say, so what I would say is I would be more likely to obtain a yield of 123 or more bushels per acre from a plot of genetically modified corn. I know this because the median for genetically modified is 127.5, meaning that 50% of the plots have more than 127.5 bushels. And 123 is actually less than that median. So I know that more than 50% have at least 123. I also know from the regular corn that the median is only 119.4 and 123 bushels is more than that. So that would fall above the median. So I know that less than half of the plots in the regular that have the regular corn are will have 123 or more bushels. So that shows me that the genetically modified corn has more than the regular. And again, if you feel like you can type that quicker, then maybe you should go with typing. If you feel like you can write that quicker, then you can write out your answer as well. All right, let's go to the next part, C. Describe the distribution. And what I say with distribution, anytime you see this word, and this is actually from Unit 1, okay? So I'm going to tell you Part A is from Unit, Part A is basically from the probability unit, just talking about the word independent. They're asking you about vocabulary. Part B is asking you to look at summary statistics of two things. That may be from two variables. That may be from Unit 2. This one is from Unit 1. Anytime it says describe the distribution, okay, distribution means that, describe the distribution means stock, shape, outlier, center, spread. Anytime it says that. You don't just talk about it. You actually, describing the distribution means you need to have those four things. Real quick, before I answer this, Claire, you will have the option to either use your computer, and I'm going to show you in one of these sessions how you would do that. Use your computer, and you can pull up like two tabs or half screen it, where you have the question on one half of the screen and Google Docs on the other half, and you could type your response and then copy and paste it at the end. Your other option is to use your phone, and where it may not be as clear at reading the question, you would be able to write your response, take a picture with your phone, and it would upload it to the exam as well. So you do have an option of doing either. I think, but you need to choose one of the, you'll have to choose one of those options. You'll either have to write the whole question or you'll have to type the whole question. All right, so stocks, shape, outliers, center, spread. And this is the distribution of the differences. So they made this, this box plot comes from this right here, from that 5-number summary that you see right there. So what is the shape of this box plot? Somebody tell me the shape of the box plot. What is the shape? And again, yes, it is skewed to the right. So if you think about it, the box plot in any curve or any distribution, if the tail is to the right, remember, and so remember, Alexis, as we go through, if the tail is to the right, so it's skewed to the tail. So if you have a long tail to the right, then you're skewed right. If you have a long tail to the left, then you're skewed left. If it looks like you have the tail on both sides and most of the data is in the middle, that's approximately normal or approximately symmetric, either way. Okay, so this one, because we have this long tail out here, and it always is skewed towards an outlier, but because we have this long tail to the right, then the shape of the distribution is skewed to the right. Now, outliers. What would we say about outliers? There is one outlier. I would say there is one high outlier. So that's what the dot is. It's a high outlier, not a low outlier. So there's one high outlier, and it is the plot that had 20.1, right? It's the 20.1 bushels per acre. So it's the plot that had a difference of 20.1. That means the genetically modified one was over 20 bushels more than the regular. So it's the plot that had a difference of 20.1. So that's your outliers. What about the center? Where is the center of this distribution located at? The center is 3. So you can use the median or the mean, right, for these, or both. So I can say the center, the median of the distribution is at 3 bushels per acre, and the mean difference is about 4.5, right? And we see that the mean is a little bit higher than the median because it is skewed to the right. Remember, that also tells you the shape. So the mean gets pulled in the direction that it is skewed. So because it's skewed to the right, the mean is higher than the median. So the mean is 4.5, whereas the median is only 3. And then lastly, the spread. Victor said the spread is 6.44. Make sure when you say spread, you have about 3 options. You have many different options. And again, if you want to write a couple of them, that's fine. Just make sure you get them all right. The first spread you can talk about is the range. The range is the maximum minus the minimum. So 20.1 minus negative 2.1. That is a difference of 22.2, right? So the range is 22.2. The standard deviation is another measure of spread. That is 6.444. The interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1, is another measure of spread. That's 6.0 minus negative 0.9. So that would be 6.9. So those are all measures of spread. The range, the interquartile range, the standard deviation. A lot of times when something is skewed, we don't want to use the mean and standard deviation because those are affected by outliers. We instead want to use the median, the interquartile range, and the range. Okay? So that is describing the distribution. You want to quickly go over the shape, the outliers, the center, and the spread. And when we say describe the distribution, a lot of times we want to talk about, the key that we want to talk about is SOC. And that's shape, outlier, center, spread. Everybody okay for me to move on from C? Okay, great. So I'm going to move on now to, and there are 5 parts on this one, just like I said, because I said basically you're probably going to get 2 questions with 10 parts total. So now we go to what we just been working on, so hypothesis testing or significance testing. So the students conducted a test of the hypotheses. So their null hypothesis was that the mean difference equaled 0, that there was no difference between the two. Their alternate hypothesis was that the mean difference was not equal to 0. That just means that there was a difference. It doesn't mean that the genetically modified was higher or lower. Just means that there was some kind of difference. Where the difference is the population mean difference, genetically modified minus regular, in yield in bushels per acre for plots similar to those used in the study. The conditions for inference have been met, so we don't have to check our conditions. That's good. The reason they're going to say this possibly on the exam is because if we had to go through a full significance test and check our conditions, then that may take up a lot more of our time. Since the conditions have already been met, they've already given you the parameter of interest that we're interested in, and they've already given you the hypotheses. They've basically done half of it for you, right? One of the conditions for inference that was met is that the sample size is greater than 30. Explain why it's necessary to satisfy this condition. So what rule in statistics tells us that the sample size, when we're talking about means, needs to be at least 30? Gavin's already got it. So it's called the central limit theorem. And sometimes we abbreviate that. It's called the central limit theorem. Sometimes we abbreviate that as CLT. And we say N is at least 30 in the central limit theorem. So the central limit theorem is what gives us the what condition. What condition does it meet if it passes the central limit theorem? Yes, it meets the normal condition. So why this is necessary is we want to know that our data is approximately normal, okay? If our data is not approximately normal, so I'm gonna write this, even if the population is not approximately normal, a sample size of at least 30 will allow us to pass the normal condition and assume that our data is approximately normal. Okay, so even if the population's not, we don't know what the population is. It might be skewed left, it might be skewed right, it might be normal, whatever. But if the central limit theorem, if we get a sample size of at least 30, then we can assume that our data is approximately normal. And to do a hypothesis test, we need to be able to assume that. Okay. So you needed to, so in D, the key was knowing that the 30 worked with the central limit theorem and knowing that the central limit theorem helped us pass the normal condition. So E, something we've stressed for our whole lot of time. The test resulted in a p-value of 0.0003. Based on the p-value, what conclusion should the students make? So this p-value, they don't even have to tell you what the significance level is, right? Because we have 3 common significance levels that we use, 0.10, 0.05, and 0.01. This p-value is 0.0003, okay? It is much lower than any significance level that we may use. So what would be our conclusion? We would, so does anybody have, can anybody give me like the entire sentence maybe? In the context of the problem? Yeah, and I like Victor's response. All I want to add into this to make it perfect is just the context of the problem. So what I'm going to say is, because the p-value of 0.0003 is less than any possible or any normal or any reasonable significance level. So because the p-value of 0.0003 is less than any reasonable significance level, or you could have said less than 0.01, we reject HO. Now, your second sentence should be, there is sufficient evidence to suggest that the population mean difference in yield in bushels per acre for plots similar to those used in the study is different. So there is sufficient evidence to suggest that the population mean difference in yield in bushels per acre for plots similar to those used in the study is different. So again, when we reject the null hypothesis, we have sufficient evidence to suggest that this is true. And we want to say what this is in the context of the problem. If we're not able to reject the null hypothesis, then we do not have sufficient evidence that the alternate is true. We never have evidence about the null. We know nothing about it. We either just reject it or we fail to reject it. Our sufficient evidence is about the alternate, okay? So we're going to say, one more time, because the p-value of 0.0003 is less than any reasonable significance level, we reject HO. There is sufficient evidence to suggest that the population mean difference in yield in bushels per acre for plots similar to those used in the study is different. So we know that there is a difference between the two plots, the genetically modified and the regular. And you don't have to word it perfectly like I did. You could just say there is sufficient evidence to suggest that there is a difference between the genetically modified and the regular plots similar to those used in the study. So see, there's 5 parts. Now, when you take a question like this, what they're going to do is, and I am grading some of the AP exams this year. I won't be grading yours specifically, but I'll be grading some of the exams and probably be grading this question. What they're going to do is there's 5 parts to the question. You can get anywhere from a 0 to 4 on an AP stats question, but in this case, each part's going to be worth a little bit. So like A and B, that may be worth 1 point. C may be worth 1 point. D may be worth 1 point, and then E may be worth 1 point. And there's your 4 points, right? And yes, you can get half points. So you might get the right answer and not justify it exactly right or not explain it exactly right. And that could give you half points as well. But then you're going to get a score on each one. So if you can knock one of these 2 questions out of the park, so to speak, like do it extremely well, then you're going to set yourself up to, even if you didn't do as well in the second question, be okay. What I also want you to notice is A and B had absolutely nothing to do with you getting C right. And you could have missed all of this and not known how to do this, but known about hypothesis testing and got D and E right, correct? So what you're going to notice is that each part of the question is probably going to come from a different unit. So don't feel bad if you don't know C. That's not going to affect your chance of getting D or E. Is everybody good with that? I hope that helped a little bit on your understanding of an AP free response exam question. I hope that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable too, because those are things that we've studied throughout the semester. It's not going to be easy, but it is going to be things that you are familiar with. So they're not trying to throw in, a ton of stuff that you have not done. All right, so if you look, the next thing I want to show you is the introduction to the Stats Medic course. So it says, welcome to the Stats Medic AP exam review course. And this is a really short video, and I'm going to optimize my sharing, so hopefully this will work. But I'm going to let you I'm going to share my computer sound, and I'm going to let you watch this with me really quickly. Hopefully it comes through well for you.
Hey, I'm Luke.
And I'm Lindsay.
And we're the Stats Medics. Lindsay and I teach AP Stats at East Kentwood High School in Kentwood, Michigan. And what we tried to do with this review course was to take what we do in our own classrooms to prepare our students for the AP exam and boil it down to the absolute essential items that you need to be successful on the exam.
What that means is this is not just a review course for statistics. We're very, very intentional about making sure everything in this course is something needed for the AP exam. You're also going to see things like AP exam tips, free released items, even rubrics from old questions to help you with your learning.
So we've come up with our top 5 tips to help you get the absolute most out of this course. Number 1, you got to make sure that you put in the work. So you will get out of this course exactly what you put into it. So if you put the time and energy into this course, we know that that's going to help your AP score.
So what that means is you need to try every single problem we put in front of you. And often when you're watching the videos, you're going to see different example problems that we work through. We'd suggest pausing and then trying the problem on your own. Watch the rest of the video and go back and re-watch as many times as you want. Try the problems again, whatever you need to do.
So next, we suggest that somehow you take notes on the stuff that you're going through. And it doesn't matter exactly what those notes look like, but just make sure that those notes are meaningful for you as a learner.
And as you're about to get started with this course, please know that you're going to need to devote some time to it. We'd suggest making a plan. Look over the next couple of weeks, see what your schedule looks like, and set aside some serious time to work through this. Don't leave it until the last minute.
And then finally, we suggest that you keep track of your progress. There's going to be a lot of practice problems that you get a chance to work on. If you can keep track of which ones are giving you the most trouble, you'll know that that's the content that you want to spend the most time working on.
We're excited for you to try this course. We've been working really, really hard on it, and we hope that it's going to help you maximize your score on the AP exam.
So let's get to it.
Okay, so I was able to, everybody, were you able to see that video on the introduction for Stats Medic? Great. So I have given this to my face-to-face class, and some of you guys I'm teaching online or have taught in the fall and haven't gotten it. But if you can print an outline of all the resources that are contained in this review. And if I click on that, it kind of tells you, like, here's all the resources from each unit. You can print the Stats Medic notes, and the notes align with the videos that we're going to watch and talk about. And I have printed this for my face-to-face class already, but you can print those notes if you want to, or you can just take the notes on your own, okay? But that basically is the introduction of what the course is going to look like. And basically, I will show you a unit is going to be set up where there's 2 videos, a free response question that we kind of talk through and work on together, how that free response question would be scored. Then you're going to get like 10 multiple choice questions to go and work on. We'll talk about how those are going to be scored, and then another free response question. So you're basically in each unit going to do 2 free response questions and then 10 multiple choice questions. You also have a couple of videos in each one to watch, to take notes on, that help you just go through the main things that you're going to need. And the way we know what you need for the AP exam is based on prior AP exams as well. Okay, so the first thing, if you're in my face-to-face class, you already have this downloaded from Stats Medic. But analyzing your results, once you take this, I'm going to show you, you're going to take the very first thing we would like for you to do, and this may take the most time of anything you do in the course, okay? And then everything else is going to be much, much shorter, and should be, everything else we do should be completed just in the time we're here on Zoom together. This is the only thing in the entire course, really, that you'll have to do outside of this Zoom time frame to get it right, but it's very important. So the diagnostic test basically goes in order of the class, okay? So the first 4 questions are on 1 variable data. The next 4 are on 2 variable data. The next 4 are on sampling and experiments. The next 4 are on probability. The next 4 are on sampling distributions. Then we have 5 on confidence intervals and 5 on significance tests. And you want to know If you can print this sheet out, if you don't already have it, or if you can just make it on your own paper, you want to know how many of these you got correct in each one, and we're going to kind of talk about that. And the reason that's important is you need to analyze what sections you're really comfortable with and what parts of the course you really need to dig deeper into during this review. So this is a individualized kind of analysis of that. So if you go back on the diagnostic test, it is you're going to decide. There are 30 questions on here. So there are 30, and they're just multiple choice questions. And I want you to go through and take your time and get the answer. When you finish these questions, and they just go on one page. So if you can't do it all right now, do 10, take a break for an hour, do 10 more, take a break for an hour, and then finish the last 10 and submit. But I want you to take your time on all of them. And when you finally submit at the end, it is going to tell you which ones you got right, which ones you missed, and then help you kind of look at what you need in this course, okay? Tomorrow, so as I go back, let me go back to the beginning. Tomorrow we are going to start Unit 1, and we're going to spend 2 days on Unit 1. So for instance, tomorrow we are going to watch and talk about these videos, and we're going to do the free response question, okay, together. And then on Thursday, we are going to work on the multiple choice questions and then do the second free response question. Then Friday, we would go into Unit 2, and we would do half of Unit 2 Friday. Then Monday, we would do the second half of Unit 2. And then we will go into Unit 3 in the same way, all the way through the 7 units. That will take us all the way through until we get to Unit 7. So that's going to take us all the way up to AP Exam Day on May 22nd. So if you can commit this 1 hour of your day to the AP Statistics course and to working towards the exam, I personally think with us working together and doing this, that we will have an amazing opportunity to earn college credit, even in this tough time, and that you will be able to work and have the very best possible chance at obtaining credit on this AP exam. So if there aren't any questions, I am going to, at this time for today, I'm going to leave you with what I would like for you to try to complete before we meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. is this diagnostic test and kind of analyze your results. And then tomorrow we're going to dive right in to Unit 1, okay? And when we dive into Unit 1, we'll start talking about that one variable data. It's something that seems very easy. It was at the beginning of the course, but it's been a long time, especially if you had this year long or in the fall. It's been a long time since you've seen any of those questions. So I'm really thankful for y'all that attended. If you know any friends or anybody else that needs to attend or should be attending, please let them know if you felt like this was beneficial and have them join. This is open, and I want this to be used by as many students as possible. So please get them involved as well. Have them coming over and participating in this. Tell them how they can log into Zoom. You can share the link that I gave you a while back. You can share that with them. The same link that got you into the meeting today will get you into the other meetings. And then I'll also share with you the YouTube channel that you can go to and get these videos as well starting tomorrow. So I hope you'll join us back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and I'll see you then. For now, if you can do that diagnostic test, that would be great. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you all for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll take them. If not, you're free to go.